Hello, my curious friends. Pastor CJ here with another video for our Ask a Pastor Anything series. Today's question is, what is the significance of the Book of Solomon in the Bible and to our life? Now, this question carries a lot of interesting pieces to it, one of which is I really don't know which Book of Solomon they're referring to. There are 3 books attributed to Solomon, or which Solomon may have contributed to, that are a part of the Hebrew Scriptures, and there are at least 2 which are non-canonical or deuterocanonical, meaning that they are sort of other, but yet bear Solomon's name. So the 3 that are in the canon of Scripture, that are in the Hebrew Bible, are Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and Song of Songs, also sometimes called the Song of Solomon. I'll talk a little bit more about those here in a minute. But the 2 books that bear Solomon's name that are non-canonical were written several hundred years after Solomon's life. One of those is the Wisdom of Solomon. And the Wisdom of Solomon is dated somewhere around the 1st century BCE. Again, several hundred years after Solomon would have lived. And the other text is the Testament of Solomon, and that dates in the 1st century CE, so same time of Jesus' life. That tells you how much time difference there may have been in that space. And both of those books are interesting, but I'm not really going to talk about them. I want to talk about Proverbs, which is the first of those 3 that I mentioned, often attributed to Solomon. Proverbs is a collection of wise sayings from around the Middle East that when the people were collecting them together, decided these are all important, worthy of preservation. And there's sayings in there that reflect on our experiences in living. There's wisdom, there's folly, there's an appeal to your experience or the reader's experience or the author's experience. Within those pages, you'll see some reflections and celebrations on wisdom, and there will be some collections there that, let's be fair, don't originate with the Hebrews, but the Hebrews thought they were smart, they were good enough to preserve, and so they did. This text is a recognition, really, of the experience of life and the experiences of foolish choices and wise choices. And part of it has to do with how do we reconcile our experience in life with what we think we believe or what we understand to be true. And to be clear, wisdom is wisdom no matter who utters it. And so this collection, it doesn't really matter where it came from because they really are wise sayings. There is truth in them. Now, they're not promises, they're just wise sayings. And so I invite you to look at that sometime. And that's how it applies to our life, is they give us some tools to discern between what is wise and what is foolish. Ecclesiastes is a collection of longer sayings, larger texts that may have been put together with a purpose, like one longer narrative. They may not have. There's scholars kind of go back and forth in that area, wondering sort of what is the coherent message through this. And you can hear in this text some echoes of Greek philosophers. Now, I'm not saying it came after the Greek philosophers, but again, wisdom is wisdom no matter what culture it comes from. Ecclesiastes is an honest reflection on life and the meaning of life and how that works. And can we discern meaning in that? How do we think through time? How do we understand the seasonality of life, where we go through different parts and ways that we think through them? What is worthy? What is good in life? And this text, what I love about it is that it's an honest wrestling. It begins, and there's one voice in the argument that says life is meaningless. So we got some nihilism here, y'all. And this is meaninglessness. How do we wrestle with that? Do we think through it? And I'm not going to focus all on Ecclesiastes. I really love that text because it's so honest and so raw as wisdom literature that I think it's really worth reading and reflecting on what it says. because as a whole, it leaves us the question to think through. Now, it does come to a conclusion. It does reach an end, and the ultimate end that the author or final redactor puts it into it is life with God is important and meaningful. But the existence of this text and the wrestling within it gives us as Christians permission to be curious, permission to ask, to doubt, to wonder, and to really honestly consider wisdom in our lives and the meaning of our lives. Now, the third text, which is attributed to Solomon, that lives within our Hebrew Bible, is the Song of Songs. Again, sometimes called the Song of Solomon, but I want to give you a little preview here. This is explicit material, y'all. This is the stuff that kids middle school boys will read with a flashlight under their covers because they feel uncomfortable reading it. Pastors feel uncomfortable preaching from this text. And so you've probably never heard a sermon from Song of Songs, because what it is an example of ancient erotic literature. Yeah, I said what I said. It's a text that focuses on love, not the agape sort of self-sacrificial love, although that's present, not the phileo brotherly love. This is the eros texts. This is the text written as a conversation between two lovers who are loving one another. And so when you read this text, that's something you need to hold in your mind. It's not sort of like the phileo brotherly love. This is the two people in a committed relationship who are writing love letters to each other kind of thing. And what I want to focus on here, and yes, part of what makes this text important in our lives is because God cares about physical intimacy. God cares and is not ashamed of the fact that human beings love one another, and that love is a physical thing sometimes. In fact, if this text is taken for what it is, then God not only understands and is not ashamed, but God blesses physical intimacy and celebrates it. Now, all three of those texts are attributed to Solomon, but I don't know that Solomon actually wrote them, and that's not really the point of our conversation today, because authorship gets mucky. But these texts attributed to him, at least in part or in whole, or he may have contributed to them, each of them tell us about life. They tell us about God. They give us clues in our own thinking and what it means to live a good life. And friends, I encourage you to read them because they are wise. In fact, I was told in middle school that there are 31 chapters of Proverbs, and if you read one chapter every day, most months you'll get through the entire book of Proverbs. And you know what? It's helped me become a better person by reflecting on those wise sayings and seeking to apply them in my life. So whether Solomon wrote them or not, that is a helpful tool for us to apply wisdom and to seek to avoid folly. Stay curious, my friends, and God bless you. Bye.